Welcome, everyone. Liquid Sundays, SPX top down analysis. I have a weekly chart of the SPX up, and I'll just go through some of the notes. S&P summary for 4/26/2026. Current value 7165.08, up 56.68, 0.80%. Record high, new all-time high. The days range 7112.82 to 716859. 52-week range 543324 to 716859. Recent performance year to date up about almost 5%. 1 month up 12.5%. Over the last year, up about 30%. In the last 5 days, we're up 0.55%. Bullish trend, strong multi-year uptrend continues, driven by tech, growth stocks, and a solid Q1 earnings. Blended growth about 15%. Technical outlook, moving averages, strong buy signals across time frames. Momentum, positive RSI, elevated, near overbought. Overall, bullish, short, medium, long term. Broken key resistance, obviously above 7,000. Potential for consolidation near highs. Key context, concentrated rally, tech leadership, earnings season positive, beat rates above average, watch Fed policy, upcoming earnings, oil geopolitics, and volatility, the VIX. So just an overall assessment, we're still strong bull market at records, constructive longer term, but short term pullback risk from overbought levels. All right, let me get the um, writing off of the chart here. Here is our SPX weekly chart. So, real strong move here. Obviously, at the end of March into April, and have broken out clearly from our resistance level here. So, if you if we take a look at basically some other indicators here, you will notice that RSI on the weekly, we're good momentum here. We're not on the weekly. We're still not really overbought, nearing that level, but MACD, we do have a positive cross. Looks like the histogram is turning green here, and I'm going to basically play this one day at a time. We're going to take basically last week's candle, which is this little hammer right here. So we did close above the previous week's candle, which is constructive. So anytime I'm looking at any type of chart pattern or market structure, I'm looking at, are we bullish, are we bearish, are we above or below previous swing highs or swing lows? We're clearly above previous swing highs, all-time highs here. If you look at the structure off of the bottom here, you got basically, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So let's take last week's candle, the weekly, and let's use our fib tool. And for last week, basically a tighter range, but still above the previous week's 50% mark here. So, how am I going to approach this? Basically, 50% of this whole candle here is 7109. I'm going to ask myself, are we trading above or below 50% of the previous week's candle? And if so, are we in a choppy, range bound box? Are we trending up? Are we trending down? We'll get an idea as the week progresses, obviously. But if we just take a quick look at, futures, for example, a little gap down right now. Um, it seems like every Friday, um, there is some there is some news, obviously, that comes out after the bell, and it's usually, kind of negative, and the market um, tends to gap down. I mean, this gap is not nearly as significant as the prior week's gap. But I drew this box here just for context here. This is the US 500. We basically traded from, this is Friday the 17th. So this was the gap down heading into Sunday night and, rallied up, basically traded back down to the bottom, back to the top. So we're there's essentially in a little bit of a consolidation period right now, and we did poke our head up above there on Friday, coming back down a little bit right now, maybe dipping our toes, into um, this level here from Friday. So with that being said, I mean this is basically box consolidation up at all-time highs. I mean, we can still push a little bit higher, but we'll see what happens. If we take a look at the SPX on, so this was the weekly range here, and we were just looking at it a lot closer. But if we just take a look at the daily range here, let's make this a little bit smaller here. Hold on. I'm going to take our little fib tool here. Okay. So support from um, Friday's candle is we talked about with the little note there, 711243 thereabouts, and the resistance is right around 6169. 6169.50. Yeah, 6169.59. I'm sorry, 7169.59 to be specific. Okay. So just from approaching this from if we were to open right now, we're still pretty bullish, consolidating above 50% of Friday's candle here. So if we can break up above 7170, then there's our 7200. We have 7200 to 7300 on our kind of short to near term target level before possible larger consolidation. If we drop back down below 50% of Friday's candle, and we should break Friday's support, we do have, basically we filled this gap on Thursday from Thursday to Friday here. But we've got some fib levels down here 1618, 70, 75. And then this is basically the top of that box there, which is around 7,000, uh, 70, 17 on the SPX. So, yeah, I'm going to basically keep a, you know, constructive outlook. I do know that we are getting, on a daily basis, we are getting overbought. You can basically see there is we're starting to see a little bit of a divergence here on our RSI and price. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was, and I've been bringing this up past couple days because I noticed a lot of people don't really know about this, and it's really important. One of the things that I learned from John Carter from reading his book is how do you spot reversals, and really like on any time frame, the first thing that you want to look for is a close below. If you're in a bullish trend, you're looking for a close below the low of the high period. So in this run up, and you really want to go back at least 20 bars. I already counted this out, and I think it's 15, but let's just for ha-has, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, yeah, 15. So we're almost at 20. But basically going back about, 20, 20-day moving average, we look for anytime we get to, possible um, possible resistance or overbought levels, we want to look for something like this. Okay, so Tuesday's candle, we got Tuesday's candle to close below the low of the high count. Okay, we did get some basically kind of tests back down this level here, and we're pushing back up above here now. So, but this is the first kind of signal you look for as far as a sell signal. All right, and you can go back and look at any chart, um, and there's always going to be kind of signs here, right? So like you come over here back to December 2025, and you get close below the low of the high, and you get some breakdown. This is what I'm always looking for. This actually works on any time frame, believe it or not. It just tells you that sellers are coming in at resistance and pushing the price down below an important support level. The same thing when the market is trending down, or intraday when you're trading. One of the things you want to look for is, okay, when does the reversal? Obviously we had this drawdown, and this pullback here, and basically it was sell the rally, sell the rally, sell the rally. It wasn't until you get a strong close above the high of the low candle that you do see a reversal. So first thing I look for, on large time frames is the daily. So I mean, we did get one here, but we are pushing up here. We're gonna keep an eye out for this signal. I brought up some other examples. I brought up Rigetti because I traded it last year, and um, I posted this on X for those of you that saw it. And I actually think did I miss this? Yeah, close below the low of the high period, right? Okay, that was that. So on Rigetti, for example, this was a quantum stock, and it was rallying, and we played it to the upside, and it was doing great, up 200%, right? You're up 100%. When do you decide to fade it? Well, we didn't really get any clear reversals until, look at this candle here, October 16th. And you can see here on October 16th, I said, Rigetti, this was before the close, and I said, Rigetti very much looking like it's going to close below the low of the high candle for the first time since August. I said a close below 50-50-ish, 50.50-ish should seal the deal. So if you followed this process, you could have shorted Rigetti for 56%. This is a hell of a trade. So that was last year, and I did have a conversation. I was asking Heisenberg, a big account on X. He said, I shorted this, I shorted that, or I shorted these stocks here, and I just shorted Car, and I think I want to short Socks or Soxel. But I looked at those charts, and they were, listen, this chart was completely, this was Avis, obviously. It was totally a short squeeze. It went from 85 essentially to 800 and almost 850, parabolic move to the upside. When do you decide to short this? You don't really want to like just try to pick a top. What's the clear signal here? You get the high candle here, and then you get this bearish engulfer, and you get a close below the low of the high. And again, you know, uh, I would rather wait to see weakness after strength. You could have shorted this thing for 53%. He mentioned something like, "Oh, I shorted it at 575." Well, it went to 847, And if you know anything about shorting stocks, you're shorting on margin. And even if you're using I mean, even if you're using correct risk management, okay, it's not going to hurt you long term, but you're going to basically your position is going to, whatever position you are trading is going to get decimated trying to short this thing at 575, right? There was 2 more days of parabolic move up, so that is something I'd like. It's from John Carter's book. I did put a lesson in the um, in the library for everybody. So take a look, okay? And you can see the volume here. Obviously, we got some volume to kind of um, follow along with the thesis here. It's from Mastering the Trade. I didn't invent it. It's basically a break in market structure. I think it's chapter 15 or 16. And please, if you haven't read Mastering the Trade, I mean, it's it's like the Bible for me when it comes to trading. John Carter is one of my biggest mentors, and I've learned so much from him, and I use so much of his strategies and techniques. So, if you want to get a little better understanding of where I'm coming from, read that book and read it over and over again. And people that have read it will tell you how valuable it is. So, anyway, so that's reversal. That was reversal on Carr Avis. Um, you know, we can look at multiple charts over and over again. Bitcoin. Uh, if you look at some of these weekly charts on Bitcoin here, uh, again, Bitcoin's 126. You start getting some signals to tell you, okay, when are we going to close candles below the high of the low? And then you see the market structure start to shift. And then, the reason I bring up Bitcoin is because it's very much, if this is our trend that we're in right now, and this is the low candle here, um, we're we're on the verge of breaking, closing above the high of the low candle here, this being the low candle from February. So a possible trend reversal here. Obviously, breaking above this trend line is important. We're getting close to that level that I thought we could see some more consolidation here around 78, 80,000. So something to keep an eye on. Bitcoin. The VIX is looking pretty tame right now. We've had a um, pretty nice pullback from these highs here. We had 35 back in early March, and we're down to around 19, a little below 19. We hit 17s on the 17th over here, so a little bit more favorable. You'll notice some of the swing trades that I posted and the ideas start cropping up. Anytime the VIX gets back below 18, I feel much more comfortable swing trading some stuff here. Some of those ideas, we got a Tesla swing trade, Microsoft, and what else? I did mention TT Train Technology swing trade idea back from 420, and CRS. So Tesla, let's look at Tesla real quick here. Tesla. Okay. All right. So Tesla, we had this. We'll bring up the weekly chart here. Here was another good example of how to potentially spot this reversal. We start on the daily, and we look for when are we going to close above the low I'm sorry, when we close above the high of the low period here. We started to break the trend. You can start to see, um, you know, possible retest of this area here. This does look pretty favorable. I think here there is a daily squeeze. We're like one, two, three, four, five, six bars in, and if you look at the weekly chart here, Ready Aim Fire is giving us a trigger here. So like just like you see right here, you got the trigger right here, close above the low of the high, and you get a nice little momentum push up here. I don't know if we're gonna take out all-time highs in the near future, but I think that the swing trade that's set up is favorable. You can see like when the histogram starts turning yellow and the squeeze to the squeeze to the downside um, starts dying. You get a push back up here and then some consolidation. So I'm thinking for Tesla, I had a few different scenarios that I posted in the chat. I'm sorry, in the ideas. Uh, I'll post I'll post this here for everybody so everyone can kind of see what's going on. Let's go here. I'll put this in the chat for you. Here is one part of swing trade idea for Tesla. So directional call. If you want to look for something with a delta 45, 30 days to expiration. This is a little bit more risky than a delta 7, obviously. But look for May 22nd expiration, about 29 days. Strike something slightly out of the money. So if we're closed at 376, you can look at 380s, or like I said, closest delta to here. Let me put it on the chart here. Make this a little smaller here. Hold on a second here. Yeah, that's good. Too many words here. Let me shorten this up for you. So as always, risk appropriately. Proper risk, 1 to 2% of capital max. Let me get rid of some of the fluff. Okay. All right, so I'll put this back here. How's that? Okay. All right, so Tesla directional, you can see Tesla directional call. So basically, we're looking for a target of 405 to 415, and break even on a trade like this would be if we get to 395, 396 by expiration. I think that's pretty good odds there, to be honest with you. Estimated premium 1545 to 1565. Confirm obviously on your own chain here. So we'll keep an eye on that. But you can basically see, breaking trend here. We do have Ready Aim Fire pointing up on the weekly, so that's positive, and a near term, push to at least test, half of this consolidation range, backing and filling here to the downside. So that's Tesla. Let's look at. I want to bring this up just because here is Soxel. So this is the um, leveraged ETF of the SOX, and just for informational purposes here, like yeah, we're definitely a hell of a run here, and it can definitely pull back from this parabolic run here, but we still have MACD uh, positive, positive divergence. And RSI, the thing about a stock that's overbought or oversold can stay oversold for a long time. Um, so just keep in mind, we're in a daily squeeze here. Yes, it's going to pull back at some point. I just don't like shorting it for no reason here. It goes up another 20-30%, and you're sitting negative in a position. So has there been any closes below the low of the high here? No. Why don't we wait till that happens, and then we can short the semiconductor ETF. You know, super bullish. I mean, um, here is weekly squeeze here, right? When these weekly squeezes fire to the upside, they can be pretty powerful and they can keep going for a while. So yes, oversold for sure on the weekly, and obviously even more so on the daily. But let's wait for a close below the low of the high before we try to fade this. So that's the socks. So let's look at some of the stuff. Let's look at some of the stocks within that. Right. Let's look at Nvidia. Nvidia is looking like breaking out from a flag. Um, so we're gonna keep a close eye on Nvidia. We're gonna keep a close eye on Micron. Again, Micron looking like here was that when we were up here we were looking for this close we basically close below the high of the low, and you get a nice little pullback, close below the low of the high, you get a nice pullback. This was an excellent place to add here. Um, AOSL and Peng looks good, Morpheus. Yeah, I'll take a look at that as well. Um, so, um, this obviously not, all time highs breaking out, but not as strong a move here. This is a little bit more indecisive, but, still, MACD is healthy and not too oversold yet on RSI. It's in a daily squeeze. Also, AMD. AMD, super gap up here um, above this. I was looking at the breakout here from this range. We charted this few weeks back, and we're above the 1618 level. So I know there's a gap here. I would look to see if this does pull back, to see if this 1618 is going to act as support before I get too bearish on it. And what else are we looking at? We're looking at Marvell is another one, another semi. This still again. This we charted this back here on this breakout here. This thing rallied 70 points off of this bullish triangle breakout. The squeeze here. Um, this is um, this is one of the most valuable indicators out there. Daily and weekly squeezes. So 3 bars in here. Yeah, it looks ridiculous, but it could go higher. So keep that in mind. What else did I want to look at? Apple. Let's take a look at Apple. Uh, Apple's looking still pretty healthy here. We're you know we're just basically um, still kind of in this pennant here, I would say. And maybe the histogram is turning up here, and maybe we get a squeeze, fires up to the upside. Wouldn't surprise me if Apple has strong earnings and makes a new all-time high. So we'll keep an eye on that. Remember, Nvidia is 7-8% of the market, $5 trillion market cap, huge weighting for take a look here at the weighting in the S&P. Nvidia and Apple are both huge, huge. Obviously, Microsoft, Google, Meta, all the big tech giants are carrying the load. AVGO looks great. Let's take a look at that chart. AVGO. Um, yeah, look at this. I mean, this is looking like, this could potentially break out from, close basically a weekly close at an all-time high. You've got the MACD cross, and a potential squeeze to the upside firing here. I don't think you can really rule out 518 on AVGO once this breaks out. You see the way that these these fibs work. When you break out from a range, just like it happens on a daily basis all the time, where does it usually go? It usually goes to the extension. So just need a little bit of gasoline, light the match, and so these are all components of that SOX, and I wouldn't fade this yet, just because things are at all time highs is not the right reason to fade it. I do think we're going to get some consolidation, but let's let the market prove it to us first. So yeah, I think that's about it for all I wanted to kind of touch and look at this evening. Anything anybody want to look at? I can do some chart analysis. I'll conclude the Liquid Sunday presentation, and then I can take some questions and stuff if you'd like.